Hello everyone, I'm Barb Owen of HowToGetCreative.com, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Tips and Tricks. Today we're talking about polymer clay. Now, I'm not an expert in polymer clay at all, but I sure like playing with it. So I thought I would give you just a couple of things that I've found that work well for me. So let's take a look at some of the things that I enjoy creating with polymer clay. Because I'm primarily a mixed media artist, what I really enjoy doing is making little charm type things and embellishments from polymer clay. Let me show you these just a little closer so you can get an idea of what some of them look like. They're just little thin, I guess you could call them tiles, and they're lots of fun to use in all different kinds of applications. I use them as charms, I use them as on cards, just all different kinds of things. Some of them have, you can see how shiny that is. That has gold leaf on it. Some of them I've stamped. Here's another one that's stamped. Some of them have translucent clay on them. They're just all different kinds of little doodads. Basically, they're just doodads. So one of the things that I've found with polymer clay is that I really am grateful for a new package of polymer clay. This is a whole bunch of leftovers, and these are probably 2 years old at least, if not more. And this clay has gotten really hard. Now, I found that you can help yourself with clay that's left over and not been cured, not been in the oven and been cured to make it super hard. I found that you can use a hot pad, one that you can turn on, electric hot pad. You can turn it on low or medium and put it on top of the clay for a little bit. Some people sit on their clay to warm it up. The hot pad works for me because I can just put it on and walk away, and that heats the clay up and helps it become more malleable. You can use a pasta machine that's dedicated just to polymer clay to run that through and soften it, and you have to condition the clay well before you start using it for anything so that it will cure properly when it's baked. But my preference is, I have to say, when I get ready to do something, I just get a new package of clay, and before I buy it, I just press it to make sure that it is soft and that it is in good shape. And then I know I'm ready to go. And primarily, most of the time, I will either work with black or white. I don't work so much with the other colors because of the kinds of things that I like to do. I can use some of the metallic powders on the black, look beautiful. I mean, that's just my preference. We all have our preferences. Now, when I'm rolling it out, sometimes the pasta machine doesn't make it as thick as I want to make it. The thickness of the sheet it's just still too thin, even on the thickest setting. So this is a very cool tool, and it is called the Activa. It's the Activa clay roller set. So here's the name, Activa, and you'll find a link below in the description if you want to check it out. And you can see right here that there's a roller and the demonstrator is rolling the clay out. Well, the way that it works is that it comes with these bars, and the bars are different thicknesses. So, and they're marked. So and I know you can't see this, but this one is a 1/4 inch thick. The next one is 3/16 inch thick. Then you have an 1/8 inch thick, and the narrowest one is 1/16 inch thick. So you got to make sure that you put the same 2 bars because they're all the same color, so you have to check and make sure. Probably a good idea would be to just write on these with a marker so that you could see them a little bit better. But they just clip in here, and then it comes with a roller, which is like a piece of PVC pipe or something, and you just roll it on the matte portion of it. And as you roll, the rollers only go down. This roller will only go down as far as the bar is tall. So in this case, it has the 1/16 inch bars in it, and so that's the thickness of the clay that's on here. Now, when you want to cut things out, which, the kinds of little things that I do, I cut out mostly using little shapes, just generic shapes. I don't do anything real fancy because of the kind of things that I like to do and that I like to use them for. And so I will do just plain little shapes. Well, it's kind of nice if you have an assortment of these little cutters like this, and these are clay cutters. And by the way, everything you use on polymer clay needs to be dedicated to polymer clay and not something that you ever use for food type utensils or food storage ever again. It's polymer clay forever. So if you want to cut these out, and sometimes they come out with a really square top on them, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to show this to you, but if you play with it yourself, you might be able, I know you're going to be able to see it in person, but I don't know whether you're going to be able to see it here. Yeah, there you go. See, it has a very square top on it. The side is very perpendicular to the top. And this other one I'm going to show you. Let's see if I can get it out. See if we can see the difference. This has a much more rounded edge at the top, so it's more round. This one on this side, it's much more square on the top. Now, granted, it's a subtle difference. I will grant you that. And the thicker the clay, the more pronounced this rounding is going to be. So the way that I got that to happen is to take, it's a simple fix. You take a piece of plastic wrap and put it over your clay. So it's just plain old plastic wrap, nothing fancy. Put it over your clay just like this. And then use your cutter and just cut down, push down through the plastic wrap and all the way down to the surface of your Activa roller surface, and then pull it off. And what the plastic wrap has done is it has forced the clay to be rounded a little bit. And then just use your blade and come in, and you can pull this off, and then you can loosen your little shape. Now you still might need to pat, you know, some of the edges around like that. And you get this lovely rounded top that, and the shape has maintained, you know, the color, the round or the square, whatever, the shape is maintained its correct shape for the cutter, but you've got that rounded top on it, which would be a little challenging to do any other way, that I figured out anyway. So this is really nice because if you want an even thickness of your clay and you want it thicker, let's say you wanted it 1/4 of an inch thick, you get the 1/4 inch roller or 1/4 inch bars. So here's one of them, and you put it in, and you can see how much higher that sticks up from the surface than the 1/16 inch. This is the 1/16 inch. See, that clips right down very close to the surface of your board. Anyway, it's nice because you can get the thickness you want, and it's a, I think it's a 10-inch square. I believe that's what they said. Yeah, 10-inch work surface. And so you get a much bigger space, so you can roll out a pretty good sized slab of clay. I can make a whole bunch of these little things, which I'm bored with these, and so I need to make some new ones. But anyway, that is a fun thing to do. And this, by the way, just as a refresher, this is the tissue blade that is commonly used with polymer clay, and I use it with air dry clays as well. But when you use this, it's sharp on one side and not the other, so I just wrap a piece of tape on the side that's not sharp, so when I go to pick it up, I know, you can see the blade here kind of glistening in the light, so I know which side to get a hold of, and it saves cutting your fingers, because that's no good. That is no good. We do not need any crafting or artistic accidents. So I'd like to thank you for joining me today with this episode of Tips and Tricks. Hopefully that'll give you a couple things to think about. Be sure that your clay is in good condition before you use it. Make sure it's well conditioned according to the manufacturer. Usually you have to condition it at least 10 minutes, sometimes longer. If your hands are have any hand issues, sometimes you'll need to employ the use of that pasta machine to kind of break the fibers down a little bit, and then you can mold it in your hands and so forth. But anyway, polymer clay is it's great fun to work with. And then be sure and follow your manufacturer's instructions as to how to bake it. And I use a dedicated clay oven because I'm more comfortable doing that. So, check out those safety issues and warnings as far as using polymer clay in your home oven and so forth. Do what you're comfortable with. All right, thanks for joining me, and I will see you over on the HowToGetCreative.com website, and I'll see you next week with another episode of Tips and Tricks. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.